So I think we've gotten pretty good at sketching quadratics, cubics, reciprocals, but there is a brand of question that we've been avoiding like the plague, and it's probably time to face up to it and actually deal with it. It's this kind of thing here. F of x equals 2, 10 minus 5x squared plus 5. Now the problem lies inside of the brackets. I think you can already see it. Remember, our general form of a quadratic is f of x equals a bracket x minus h squared plus k. And that assumes that the x is just all by itself and the x is positive. Let's say 1x. Here we've got two problems. X is not by itself. There's a 5 there, and it's negative 5. So I'm going to write it just to make it a little bit closer to the mark. Not really changing anything here. It's still the same question. I've just changed the order here. So I've put negative 5x first and then 10. I'm really just stalling for time because I don't really want to get into it because it feels complicated. So let's do our next little bit here. What I'm going to do is factorize or take a common factor out of this part here. But I need to be really careful when I do that. So I'm going to use square brackets out the front, and I'm going to put that squared there. And so basically I'm saying anything inside of this big square bracket is squared. And I'm going to put that thing into my square brackets. All right, so far so good. Now I can look at this. That's a temporary thing because I'm going to delete it in a second. I'm going to look at this and look for a common factor. And the common factor here, I'm going to use negative 5 as my common factor. I'm going to use negative 5 because that'll mean that just x is left over. So let's get our eraser out and erase that, and then let's do let's factorize that, negative 5x plus 10. So I'm going to bring negative 5 out the front here, and then what's left over? Negative 5 times x makes negative 5x, and negative 5 times 2 makes 10. And this little plus 5's out the end here. All right, now that's not too bad. This says 2 brackets, all of this stuff inside of here is squared, and then it's negative 5 times x plus 2. So f of x equals 2. Now, you should remember from your index laws that if two things are multiplied by each other, a times b, and it's raised to a power, say, doesn't matter what the power is, 7, 9, 11, I'm just going to use n, then that means that a is raised to the power of n and b is raised to the power of n. That's like grade 9 stuff. I'm teaching it to my grade 9s right now. Okay, so that means that for this, negative 5 times x plus 2, that means that negative 5 is raised to that power, and x plus 2 is raised to that power. And so when I raise that to that power and raised that to that power, that actually gets rid of those brackets entirely. What we're left with is 2 times negative 5 squared times x plus 2 squared plus 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. 25 times 2 is 50. 50 x plus 2 squared plus 5. All right, it's not easy. It's not a simple thing to do, but it's the simplest version we're going to get of this. Now, all of this we could have done again if this was cubed to the power of 3, to the power of 3, to the power of 3. These steps, the only step that would change is this would become to the power of 3. Practice these, practice them. I'm going to put a bunch of questions on here, but there's our basic method.